Starting now. Recording is starting now.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, I even have tea that's ready. Hell yeah.
Lucky you. Should I get some Diet Coke extra? So I could get some Diet Coke.
Keep it together there, bud.
Okay. It's time for some Diet Pepsi. Is it ever not Diet Pepsi time? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, every day for me. Not.
Like legitimately, can you say that with the utmost certainty
Yeah, for me,
that it's not?
it's literally never Diet Pepsi time. Even when I drank soda, it was not Diet Pepsi time because
I
Diet
feel
soda is
like
gross.
it just is Diet Pepsi time, but you're just like feeling some other vibes that are like coming in and kind of like distracting you from like the good vibes, like the Diet Pepsi vibes, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's certainly possible. You wanna throw that their link in their Discord there, bud?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could definitely. Yeah, I could definitely go ahead and do that for you if you don't mind. Um, just just waiting a second, and
Why,
just being
thank you.
quiet.
Why, thank you.
Just go just go ahead and just don't talk anymore for me, if you wouldn't mind for me there.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Can I talk now?
Yeah, that's fine now. I just
Okay.
wanted a couple of seconds there.
Sure, no worries. Everybody needs to take a little break every now and then in their life.
Yeah, that's true. Man, oh god, my audio feels and sounds so weird because I'm used to having my other earbud in at all times and not this one. And my voice sounds weird. I feel like I can't speak because like I can barely hear myself. It's really weird. I don't know, dude. It's fucked up. Have you ever had like you've been sick and you just have like I don't know, like fluids in your sinuses, and then like because of that you can't balance. Like you feel like your balance is off. You could like fall down.
I've never had it affect my balance, but I actually have like tinnitus in my right ear almost all the time because I think I wear headphones too much, and it just has
Is that
constant
tin-
audio stimulation in my ear.
tinnitus? Is
Yeah,
that like ringing?
yeah. It's just
Okay.
always like it goes away if I like stop doing shit on my computer and for several days,
Yeah.
but I can't obviously because this is my job. I should probably start listening through just speakers because it's like actually pretty annoying. By the end of the day, every single day, I just have like this really loud ringing in my right ear, and it like usually gets kind of clogged, and I can't hear out of that ear very well.
Yeah, this is weird for me because I don't know if like my right ear is more clogged than my left ear or something, but I feel like I can hear myself better right now. I don't know, it's really weird. Anyway, let's let's hop in. People always say, "Hey, you guys chit chat for 20 minutes at the start of your streams." So,
Well, yeah.
we
Tell-
can get into it because there's always a lot of questions these days. Good problem to have. Lots of patrons, lots of good questions. I don't think the questions have been better in the past couple of months. Everyone has something that I get excited when I read it, It's like, "Ooh, I wanna talk about that."
yeah, yeah. I agree. So, with that being said, welcome everybody to Alchemy Answers episode 73. We have excellent questions as always, thanks to our wonderful Patreon supporters. If you haven't checked out our Patreon, you definitely should. We just did our first Patreon exclusive stream where we let the patrons select our heroes, and we actually played ranked role, so they didn't select our roles, but they selected our heroes. And boy, did we have some interesting games.
Dude. Oh, I think you got an awful hero every time. I think Donnie was like support PA, support sniper,
Yep,
support position 5 Pudge. I was carry techies. That was actually our best game.
it
We
was our
won
best
that
game.
one.
Yeah,
We won that one. It was like 30-2. We destroyed that one.
yep. 18 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that for the GG. Yeah, it was quite the game. We actually that was like the one game where both you and I kind of went into the lane and we're like, okay, we have been screwed so hard by these picks from our patrons that we have to actually theory craft on the fly and figure this out because we don't want to get completely rolled and sent to low priority. So it was
That
actually
was the
really
game.
fun.
That
It
was the
was
game for the low priority for sure. If we're getting reported for any game, is Pudge Techie's safe lane.
yeah, but it was actually really fun. I enjoyed that one a lot. I thought we both kind of figured it out and played
Dude,
well.
it's actually not that bad. Like legitimately, I could see some really edgy team running that strat and playing for like Techie's 25 or something like that, just to kind of like throw a curveball because I was farming fast, dude. Mine's one. I would just mine a creep wave, one hit it, mine a stacked camp, one hit it, and it's like I had all of the mana to sustain that. I went Necrobook, so I had tons of mana. It was really good, actually. Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't say really good, but it was. There's like
It felt not awful is what you mean to
right,
say.
right
It,
compared to the other stuff that we were playing for sure.
right.
Storm off lane. I was Visage mid. That just felt bad. It's probably one of my worst heroes. Anyway, speaking of Patreon, let's get into the questions. First and foremost, we have our boy Slorkle. I've been playing a lot more aggressive supports, like Witch Doctor, and find myself on kill streak very often, like 3 to 5 kills in a row. As a support, should I try to not forfeit those streaks or continue to play aggro, in your opinion?
Uh,
That depends. I would say in like a pub setting, believe me, man, I've been experiencing some of the lower brackets in pubs lately, and geez, my idea of things has definitely changed since experiencing that. But with that being said, I know that in like competitive games, in the past, I've been on a team and we're winning, and then somebody is like having a really good game, like the position 4, position 5, and then they'll say like, "Hey, I'm gonna take farm. Like I'm gonna take farm priority," because they're having a really good game. And sometimes you can actually have your pause 5, pause 4 kind of scale to be like the pause 3, maybe even pause 2, if the game is going well enough for them. And so that was the thing even before kill streaks, keeping yourself alive, having the other players, the other heroes run in and do the pause 5 things and do the warding and stuff like that. That was the thing before. So now with the kill streaks mattering so much, that definitely is hypothetically a thing now. Whether or not it works in pubs,
very
I would
unlikely.
say probably unlikely because you would need your. I mean, you could theoretically, Donnie, we always talk about like using your team as bait, even though they don't know they're baiting. You can use them as bait. You can use your team as space creators. Like
Yeah,
hypothetically, it could work where they might be forced into playing your position if you kind of Pavlovian bell them into doing that. You know what I mean? Like you could
sure.
maybe manipulate in a way, but I'd have to actually play a few games and see how it feels to kind of scale in whatever your bracket is, and be like, okay, I'm gonna play Witch Doctor. I have this kill streak. I'm gonna kind of play as more of a core. I'd say probably not, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I have smurfed at like very low brackets as a position 5 before, and
How
I
low are
found
we talking?
what?
How low are we talking?
Oh, I played at like I played a few 1K games. And I just found myself being like the most farmed hero on my team because nobody would push waves, and so I just pushed waves, and so I ended up being a core. Um, but I would say that you have to be a little careful now as a support because if you do get a big streak and then they kill you, you can feed a lot of gold to somebody that's very important. And chances are it's going to be like the mid or the carry because they're usually the ones targeting the supports anyway.
Yeah.
So I would almost go as far as to say that like if you're getting up there in kills, you might want to consider just like just dying once. So you don't give somebody like 1,000 gold for free. Or at the very least,
I
like
think it's split though. I'm pretty sure it would get split. Like I guess if you could die to tower and the kill streak gold would go nowhere, I would say that's good. I don't know how that
yeah,
works though.
I'm
But
not
if it
sure either.
doesn't, I would say you almost have to, with how much gold you get for now, you almost have to value your life a lot higher based on kill streaks.
Yeah. At the very least, you need to build like really tanky items if you have a kill streak as a support.
Yeah. It is a good question though. It's a new thing. It's really a new thing with the kill streak gold. I've seen people kill like win one fight, and then some guy's like 3 levels ahead, even though he was 2 levels behind before, and it's like so 5 level difference in just one fight
Yep.
because of this like XP with kill streaks. It's really ridiculous. And then gold, of course, people are getting like 1,000 gold to kill now. It's really ridiculous. Anyway, Average Bean says, "How do you feel about Zeus now with the new boots of travel nerf? I used to spam him and I get bots, maybe second or third item. Now I keep having mana issues, even if I'm mid. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the new bots on Zeus. I've tried the new bots on Bat. I've tried the new bots on Sand King, on Zeus. Basically, these heroes that really like the trips to the fountain. Doesn't work. The only hero it seems to work on is Spirit Breaker because he can TP to fountain and then charge out.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. If you're not a hero that like abuses the move speed, new bots kind of suck. They're like almost exclusively like a late game item now, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I think that there might be some validity if you're a hero that wants to. I think they're more legit in pubs that are uncoordinated because sometimes you have to be a split pusher and also show up to every single fight. And I think that that's kind of like the one time that you would
See,
like to use them.
the problem with that though, the problem with that and why they're so bad now is because if you spend any resources split pushing, you're usually not healthy enough to show up to a fight anyway,
Yeah.
you know? And at that point you could just use your TP scroll as well,
Yeah.
because it's just the same thing. You're just talking about that one instance of having the TP.
True.
It's weird. It feels bad. It definitely feels bad. I think a lot of Dota is based off of you you can theory craft a lot of things, but really the important part is where you learn like whether stuff is good or not is where you theory craft it, then actually try it. And it feels bad for me. Like the feeling for me is like the new bots feel really shitty, other than on Spirit Breaker or heroes that actually like the move speed. Like if you're getting it on Bat, so you have the move speed, then that's a
Right.
little different, you know.
Sure.
But when you're playing to do the split pushing thing and use Firefly, use all your resources to push in a lane, and then a fight starts, it's like, well, fuck, I'm at 50% mana. That's a lasso. It's like
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if they're good on like somebody like Sven, who really likes move speed and also wants to be split pushing.
it doesn't cost mana. Maybe on heroes that don't
Right.
cost
That was
resources
the
to
thing is
split
it doesn't
push.
really cost you any resources to do that split push with
Yeah,
Sven.
yeah, possibly, for sure. Maybe like the problem with Sand King is like you need like a Yule Scepter or some other source of mana if you want to have enough mana to split push and then show up to fights,
Hmm.
or constant clarities, but that costs a lot of money. Um, and then needing like Yules plus travels, that's a lot of gold.
Just to do one job,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. When it's like, all right, 90 gold for a TP and then just some clarities, and you don't need the Yules, you don't need the travels. You just split push and then show up with TPs. Like that costs a lot less. Then you can have blink daggers and stuff for the fight. That's just why it feels bad, is because there's like other requirements now rather than just bots is fine.
Sure.
You need like bottle bots or bots Yule Scepter or a bunch of clarities or this added cost to using the bots like we used to use the bots, which is sad. I mean, it's sad unless you're Nature's Prophet.
Yep.
Then it's good.
Yes,
Uh
Ash, we can read your chat. We see you. Bara is in the meta, kind of. I don't know. He's got a place maybe, but it's
he's
hard to tell.
he's in a weird place right now. I don't know how I feel about that here. I do know how I feel about that here. I feel like it's not that good. It's like 42%, 44% win rate or something like that in pro level pubs. I think people are playing it because it's really fun. It's this like fresh, new, ridiculous build people are doing that nobody's ever seen before. And but the win rate of it's really low because holy shit, you are so useless until you get those items.
Yep.
Dude says, I play position 4/5, if this helps contextualize. I don't know if you guys experience this, but how do you deal with teammates that give up pre 10 minutes? When should you just say fuck it and mentally forfeit yourself and just wait for the next game? And when should you try and win despite playing 4v6? I have a pretty okay answer for this, but there's a lot more I need to read. I hate the 10 to 20 minutes before the game ends when your team half isn't trying and you're left wondering whether you should put any effort in yourself. On a related note, okay, I'll read this one next actually because we'll cover the first question. So, how do you play when somebody gives up pre 10 minutes? I think that you can mentally forfeit and give up being emotionally attached to the game without throwing.
Hmm.
For me, I just play to have fun. I just will go cut waves. I'll try to enjoy individual team fights. I'll just try to be silly and have fun with it. And that really works for me because in some of those games, we win anyway. We managed to actually win 4v6 because I mean, generally, if you're doing fun stuff in Dota, yeah, it might be a little throwy, but it's not as throwy as literally giving up. You know, you
Right.
can definitely still win, and a lot of the fun, crazy shit in Dota will actually is arguably better than the consistent stuff. It's like high risk, high reward, but a lot of the time the risk will actually pay off, especially in a game like that where it's already crazy. So that's what I would say. If somebody gives up pre 10 minutes, just try to have fun with like the micro of the game rather than the macro. You're gonna lose the game anyway. You know, may as well just make whatever minutes of it are that are left enjoyable. It's like let's say this is very morbid. Let's say you're told you're gonna die like 30 days from now. Like what would you do with the rest of your life? Would you just give up and just wait, or would you go and try to like do as
Have as
much
much
shit as
fun
you
as
could?
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most people would just do as much stuff as they can,
Yeah.
tie up any loose ends sort of thing.
That's actually a really good way to put it. I mean, one nice thing that I have discovered from those types of experiences is that you kind of get to learn the limits of your hero without any risk because like
Which is fun.
the game is already over potentially, but when they're like trying to dive you in the fountain or like they're so far ahead that it just seems like you can't really kill anybody, but then you get to just try and make like some super sick play without any real, there's no chance that if you mess it up that you've ruined the game because the game is already ruined. So that can be really fun. I know that a lot of people are scared to make big plays or die in games, and that holds people back from their development on specific heroes. And so, if you're playing Morphling or something like that, and you're in a super hard game and your support sucks, and so you had a terrible lane, just try and figure out some insane combos when the other team's pushing high ground. Like, use that time to just push your limits without having to fear throwing the game as a result.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's freeing.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you see this in shows a lot that these characters that have terminal illness or whatever. They have a Money Heist has a character like that. I won't spoil it, but there's a character that's like terminally ill and he just does whatever the fuck he wants, doesn't give a shit what people say to him, does and it's like I mean, obviously it's a problem you'd like not to have, but also it does have some upsides in the fact that you just don't have to give a fuck. If you already know that the worst is going to happen, then what worse can you do? You know, you can't. Doesn't matter if you go to the grocery store and embarrass yourself, or you do something cringy. You ask a girl out on a date or whatever, and she rejects you, and it's really embarrassing, and you fucking shit yourself. It doesn't matter. You're gonna be dead in whatever amount of time. And I mean, that can even be extended to like the human life. I mean, I don't want to go too philosophical, but you could take that approach with like the entirety of the human lifespan. It's like it doesn't fucking matter anyway. So do whatever the fuck you want, you know? Anyway, very philosophical at this point. Let's go to the next question. On a related note, this is dude still. Are certain games simply unwinnable? Yes. I had a recent game where our carry third picked Morphling into AA, and the rest of the team was Silencer, me, Windranger. There you go. That's why you lost. Fucking Windranger, Silencer, core or support duo. Maronna, offlaner, also griefing. Pugna, that's okay. Pugna is definitely okay against AA, AM, Shaker, Lich, OD. Yeah, definitely that's a very not favorable draft, and
Yep.
you can still win, but it's just a low chance. Our offline Marana picked last. It felt like our fate was sealed before the game even started. In that we had no real initiator, and our squishy lineup would just be bursted any minute anybody showed, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I mean that just sounds like a hard game, and the thing is, like a lot of the time, you can itemize to do better in those games. Like if you don't have lockdown because your draft sucks, you can itemize to build Atos, Orchid, Sheepstick, and avoid fights. And like the problem that I see in a lot of low rated pubs, one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest, people always ask during coaching, and I don't blame anybody for asking about this because it's a very, very good question. But like, how do I itemize on this hero? Like, what's the build? And I always say that it matters so much less what items you're building than you think. It doesn't matter. What matters is when you get the item, playing around that item. Like, if you have a requirement to get a BKB before you can fight the enemy team, and you fight the enemy team without a BKB. That's bad. I don't care if you go 3 items before that BKB. As long as you can dodge them in fights before that BKB, and you do dodge them in fights before that BKB, it doesn't matter because you're not going to lose the game in any of those moments. Like it's not that it doesn't matter; it's that it matters so much less. And so basically, what I'm saying is that if you have a really shitty draft and you need to farm a bunch of items in order to win the game, that's just what you need to do. But I guarantee what happened in that game is you guys had a shitty draft. The enemy team just countered your team, and you ran into them and fought without
Yep.
having the items to deal with the fact that they countered you, and that will just expedite the loss by like 5x. You
Yep.
know, all you need to do is split push, not fight until you get the items that are required to fight. No Tail just did an analysis of TI8, their grand final series, and so many times in that, I would almost want to do a breakdown of that, even though it's like a breakdown of a breakdown. It's like I feel like in that video, he was kind of casually going over it.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of subtext that I think is really important, but he wasn't really looking to do like, he's no tail, he's chilling, he's just having a good time, he's kind of reacting to it.
Hmm.
But in his reactions, you can see really good constructs of like how to play Dota, how to think about problem solving. And it's not like he's saying, okay, here's how I solve problems, because he's not interested in talking about that. He's not trying to analyze, he's trying to entertain. But I was hearing a lot that we didn't have the tools to deal with the enemies at this point. We needed this item. We needed this. We needed this. We needed this. So they didn't fight until they had that. Okay, in this fight, we fought this because we had the tools. Like we
Hmm.
needed Monkey King to be here. We needed Earthshaker to be here. We needed to use these 3 spells to kill this hero. And that was the situation there. So we took that fight.
Right.
So in all of those games, it's like 9K gold leads one way or the other, and it didn't really matter for the end of the game. Like LGD would have like this huge lead, or OG would have this huge lead, and nothing really mattered other than like in that particular fight, did they have the proper tools to win that fight? And if they didn't, they would take the fight and lose, or if they didn't, they wouldn't fight and then they'd win. It's like you could see this time and time again. And he would say, like, okay, Enchantress, we need a vessel to kill this guy. Unless we have these spells. Okay, we had these spells here. We fought. We didn't have these spells here. We dodged. We had a vessel. We didn't need these spells anymore. We fought. Even though we didn't have those spells, we fought because we had the vessel. So he's thinking about these timings and these items that they need to these tools to deal with the particular heroes on the enemy team. And that's how I see this game. When you give this draft to me, is that you actually need a lot of tools, because like they have the AM that counters the Pugna, they have the AA that counters the counters like the Morphling. You have Windranger, you have Maronna, you have Silencer. These are 3 like support heroes that basically have no lockdown. Like you guys are borderline fucking useless to your team. Like usually, if you're gonna have some Nature's Prophet or Silencer as a pause 5, like you need some Earth Spirit as a pause 4, right? You need something that can actually go in and do shit, because none of your heroes do anything. So what do you need? You need a bunch of items before you can do shit. But I guarantee you that in this game, there's tons of fights happening before those items. That just needs to not happen.
Yeah. We made a video a long time ago called how to counter any hero in the game. I think I actually made it for Pugna originally, but we reposted it on Dota Alchemy. And I basically explained that you can counter through draft, you can counter through items, you can counter through playstyle, and gave examples of each one of those. And it's just kind of like you're setting your baseline of winning that game extremely, extremely high. Like you have to play very well, you have to itemize exactly perfectly, you cannot take any bad fights. If you do all 3 of those things, sure, you can win, but chances are the game's pretty unwinnable because it's going to be hard to coordinate 5 random people to do all the right things all the time. So yes, it's probably just going to be a free loss, but at the same time, you should think about how do you win these types of situations, because let's say that you had like one extra good hero, but you still had like pretty bad chance of winning. Maybe it's only 70%, but 30% is not that small in terms of being able to win those games. And so it's always good to be able to like think about what could have been done better. Maybe you're a hero that normally never builds a Heaven's Halberd, but you're just against a bunch of right clickers, and if you just build a Heaven's Halberd, then suddenly they're useless. So if you're like a Zeus who builds a halberd and suddenly it wins you the game, is that bad? It might be
No,
a bad
that's
item
good.
like 100 times out of 101 times, but that one game that it actually mattered, it wins you.
That sounds cool. I mean, Zeus Halberd actually sounds cool. I like that. It sounds high skill. No, sometimes that's what you need. I was gonna say, I actually think it's like higher than, for the sake of argument, and for making the point, yeah, like 70% chance to lose. Maybe that's like good for the sake of argument. But I feel like if you're good enough, if you're truly as good as you want to be at Dota, let's be real, we all want to be fucking good. It's a serious addiction. This dopamine rush that we get from Dota. Um, then you can have a 55% or like a 40 to 50% chance to win every game. Like you just maybe you need every item and you need to split push and you need to carry team fights and you need to do everything. But if you can do that, then you probably have a pretty decent chance of winning the game. You know, like maybe you need more items. Maybe you need to be Silencer that's getting a sheep and a Shadow Blade so you can gank and a Blink Dagger so you can jump on the sniper. Maybe you just need all those items, but just farm for it and play to that. You know,
Yep.
whatever you think you need to do, just play to that. Dude says, some nights I feel like I have a limited pool of Dota energy. I'd rather put it towards games that don't feel like a waste of time. Can you guys relate in any way? This is why I try to snipe queues. I try to snipe people when they're queuing, like Sumail and stuff. And obviously, this is not particularly relatable because there aren't, a huge pool of like high immortal players. So it's like easier for me to do that. Um, but definitely playing at the right time, not playing at like 3 a.m. is really good. Playing like around dinner time, like bit after dinner time, there's a lot of people queuing. You're not going to get smurfs. You're going to get like pretty good quality games. Queuing with your friends, like playing 5 stack, playing 3 stack, 2 stack. That's going to give you way better Dota. That's I totally agree. I definitely have a limited pool of Dota energy, and I spend the rest of my time doing either like really simple grunt work where it's kind of like mindless, coding or like editing videos or something like that. And then I spend my like apex energy in trying to like get as many wins as I can in Dota for the day. That's kind of like where I'm at. And then when you're tired and you don't really have that much energy, you can spend a lot more time doing things like maybe watching replays or working or playing fucking Minecraft, something like that. I don't know. But I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I totally relate to that. I try to like optimize that energy into, or if there's like a really important something that I need to do, like a really important video or something like that, I'll maybe put it into that. But I think that's just generally like a life thing, just like optimizing to put your like best foot, your best energy forward into like the most important thing for that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. You also just have to make sure that you check in between games because sometimes, like, you'll finish a game and you'll just kind of be in a habit of queuing or something like that. But if you give yourself like 5 minutes, you might realize that you don't actually want to play another game. So,
Yep. Yep. It's really important to keep your mental health in mind, honestly. I think it's pretty easy to forget. And then all of a sudden you're just like an inefficient piece of shit. And then everything gets worse and you get more inefficient. I mean, there's science on this. Straight up. There's science on this. It's a vicious cycle for sure. Okay, Uga Chaka says, what carries are good at countering Phantom Lancer? I spam him, but whenever he's picked by the enemy team, I find it very hard to deal with him if our team lacks specific counters to him. Okay, let me look. Carries that counter Phantom Lancer. Let me go to my carry tier list.
Leshrac.
Yeah, that's very quite risky though. That's a little risky. Sven is good, but just a bad carry, which a bad hero. Mjolnir, like the like if you go like Radiance Mjolnir on like a Wraith King or a Naix, I think itemization is like a big thing.
Gyrocopter's pretty good
Oh,
against him.
Gyro's really good. Gyro's probably like the best right now. Like Gyro Ember. Yeah, Gyro Ember are really good, I would say, definitely. If you want to counter from the carry position. Those
Yep.
are like magic damage clear on all of the illusions.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, hmm.
Monkey King is good, yeah, because you can put the ult down and then you have like the Mjolnirs, they're bouncing around on all the illusions. You clear the illusions very quickly.
Yeah, I would say those are probably your best bets. I think that countering PL is a little bit more of like a team oriented task,
That's
and
like the one reason I think Zeus is decent right now is because PL Naga Terrorblade.
mm-hmm. You could also opt for the other strategy of just being way more farm than him at a certain point. So something like an alchemist, where you have like 5 items and PL only has 2. That probably works pretty well. Something like a Magnus as well might fit into that realm.
The problem with that hero is just garbage though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. Is like it's
but
like I would
the
say just
archetype, I mean.
Sven and Mag, like the idea behind these heroes is pretty good against PL, but just garbage heroes. That's like I think a big reason why PL is so strong is because there aren't like people don't really pick Ember in the safe lane anymore. Gyro doesn't seem like it's that good. I mean, against PL, obviously these heroes are better, but I'm just saying, like, in general, these heroes are, usually want Ember more in the mid lane. Usually,
Yeah.
Gyrocopter, maybe even mid lane, and people that are picking that, it's like 44% win rate or something. So it's but against PL, yeah, I mean it's gonna be good. Like there's so many heroes in Dota that are garbage, and then you just throw them into a game against like a hero they counter, and they're just insane. Insane. Like Zeus against Naga, Zeus can be dog shit, and against Naga Terrorblade, it's gonna be a good hero for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
Slorkel says these are kinds of random questions, but what are your thoughts about Warlock skipping bonds early and maxing the heal and slow? Someone did it in my game and it felt great. Also, is Quap 4 legit? Yeah, Quap 4 is pretty legit. That fucking slow, man. It's so annoying. Any thoughts on what starting items a Quap 4 would get? Headdress or Bassi? Okay, so skipping bonds early, maxing the heal and slow. I think Warlock's a bad hero, man.
Yeah, I don't think he's very good. I don't think that you should skip bonds because it's kind of like your only consistent contribution. If your ult's down, at the very least, you can maximize your team's damage. I only think you really need 2 points in slow anyway to get the most value out of it because
Well, yeah,
it
because
just
because
increases the ramp up speed anyway. I think.
yeah. The ramp up speed goes from 12.5 to 6.5.
Right,
And then the next level goes to 4.5. So
right.
you're getting 6 seconds of faster ramp up speed. And then the next thing is 2 seconds of faster ramp up speed, and then 1 second of faster ramp up speed. That ability straight up needs to be reworked. It needs to do
Yep.
like damage or something like that. That's what it needs to do.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
Putzi McCoy says hero specific question here. What
No,
factors
we
would
don't
you
take
take in?
those. Sorry, man.
Okay, yeah. Mira, I'm just kidding. Hero specific question here. What factors do you take into account whether you want to go Echo Saber or Diffusal first on Slark? Always Diffusal. I feel like always Diffusal.
At this point, yeah, I
I
really don't think that there's any reason to ever go Echo on that hero.
I I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, what does it really do for you? It gives you a little bit of mana regeneration. It gives you a little bit of extra stats to be tankier, and then it gives you a much worse slow than Diffusal Blade because it applies for 1 second and then it's gone.
Or Meteor Hammer and Dagon if you watch BSJ stream. Yeah, BSJ is a griefer, straight up. Mira says, when playing from behind, my strategy is to go cut waves and split the map. That's good. Is there anything else to consider and how to communicate this with the team?
Item
Playing
timings. What is the item timing that's going to allow you to stop being behind? Play to that. Figure it out. Don't show up for fights until you have that item.
I agree. I agree. There's not much more to it. Other than sometimes the way that I see playing from behind is that when you're at like equal power with the enemy team, you can play 50% of the map. You can put your heroes split on like about 50% of the map. When you are not at equal power with the enemy team, when they're stronger than you, just a bit stronger than you, all of a sudden, instead of being able to farm 3 lanes, you can only farm 2. And then when they're even stronger, you can only farm 1 lane together, but you can still be together. You don't have to split push. Like in my opinion, split pushing is the like hard split pushing is the absolute bottom of the barrel of what you want to do, because other times you can have a hero pushing a lane, still doing the exact same thing that you're doing while split pushing, except you have heroes waiting in the wings to gank somebody who could potentially die. And yes, you are splitting the map, but in units, in different groups. And basically, the more and more far behind you are, the more tight knit that group has to be. Because if the enemy team splits up as like 1 or 2 heroes, maybe 3 of you can kill them, maybe
Mhm.
4 of you can kill them. Maybe you need all 5 to kill those heroes, but there's going to be a number. And then if there isn't, that's when you hard split push, when you are absolutely disinterested in fighting them all together. Because otherwise, I think that you should be split pushing, but there should be an Earth Spirit waiting in the trees to kill anybody who potentially rotates to stop that split pushing, especially if you can see somebody elsewhere on the map. So the hard split pushing thing definitely is important, but it's like the bottom. Like you want to go down the kind of rungs on the flow chart. There's no rungs on a flow chart, but you know what I'm saying. You go down the levels to the highest one possible that's going to get you the most, and then when you're so behind, that's when you do the split pushing thing. So I would say that in a lot of these games that maybe you're split pushing, it's possible that there's potential to actually do some ganking and stuff in there.
Yep. I want to answer this question from chat real quick, which is, what is one hero that you'd like to see reworked in the game right now?
Tidehunter. I think Tidehunter is boring. I think Tidehunter is uh, quite generic, almost old Dota like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really long ultimate, like Warlock. I feel like Warlock's like that too. Really long ultimate, nothing new, nothing fancy. He doesn't have a toggleable ability active associated with his passive. It's just a straight passive. You know, he's been the same thing forever. It's the same thing. I do like the fact that Anchor Smash now does your auto attack damage, and I
Yep.
think that was a nice change. I think that was a step in the right direction. But
Agreed.
the hero's also garbage, and he's been garbage for a long time because the identity of the hero just isn't that good.
Yep.
Like this idea of a hero that just shows up and, oh, if he presses Ravage, he's fucking useless. But if he has Ravage, he's super powerful. Be careful. Like that's one of the most what's the word? One of the most tired I like archetypes in my
Yeah,
opinion. Like
that's a
I'm sick.
good way to put
I'm
it.
sick of that. I'm sick of that. I think that's old. I think that's boring. And even something like Enigma has kind of evolved where you can play like the summons Enigma. He's got these summons that go really fast because of talents and they've been improved and all of these other elements. He's not just a black hole anymore.
Right.
That's not what Enigma is. 100%. And Tidehunter is basically just a fucking Ravage with auras.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'd like to see. I was just looking at it. I'd like to see TA reworked. I think that hero is extremely boring as well.
She does do the exact same thing in literally every game.
Yeah, there's actually one build for her that's viable, and it's been viable that way for probably about 6 or 7 years now. So that seems a little bit old to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of the time the reworks do happen on heroes who have been out of the meta for a long time and they can't seem to get them back into the meta with like normal buffs. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of where, so maybe anti-mage. I saw anti-mage in chat. People are saying anti-mage and I agree that he's got potential. Well, then again, they did change the spell shield. So they did rework that recently. So maybe because of that it's not going to happen. And they did give his mana break a percentage now too. So who knows, but I like the idea behind saying anti-mage. Just because, like, she's like TA. Same thing every game. Battle Fury, Manta Style, Abyssal.
Right.
That's always been the build.
Yeah,
That's been
it
the
would be
build.
nice if there was a reason to use spell shield early and like be like this fighter that jumps in and counter spells and stuff like that. But there just isn't because Blink Battle Fury is just way too strong.
Yeah. The problem though is anti-mage is pretty good right now. So
Yeah.
he's like decent tier. He's not well, he's griefing in pubs, but you know, if you're good at anti-mage, you're good at anti-mage. He's good. So Loey Val says, is Maronna and Bane a viable lane combo in any situation in the current meta? I don't think so. I think Marana's a 4. I think Bane
5.
is a 5. So the problem is like these dual roaming supports doesn't happen anymore because it's very risky. If it doesn't pan out, then you just have 2 side lanes that are losing, which is really bad. So that's the issue. Like you could maybe do some offlane Marana, but then who the hell is going to build the pipe and things like that?
I don't hate Greaves Marana, but yeah, it doesn't really seem to fit the rest of what the hero wants to do very well.
Yeah, it's like once again, we always say this in our tier list videos, like why wouldn't you pick another hero in that role that just does it much better? And you could like if you really want a super lane dominating off lane that is just the typical archetype for all of for the 2 roles and way better at lane dominating, it's like SK Lena. Like there's plenty of combos, Lashrak SK, Ogre Lashrak. Like there's plenty of kill combos that are really fucking good, except they fit the archetypes for off lane and support a lot better.
Yep.
Whoosh Bar says, I want to take your advice and spam one hero to get better, but I was always under the impression that draft matters a lot in Dota. Is it worth spamming the hero into counters? And if so, should I just first pick to make sure nobody takes the hero and leave the rest of my team to not get countered since I was going to pick it no matter what? I mean, that's a fine strat. I think that's perfectly fine if you're good at the hero or if you want to practice it. Like that's kind of, there's 2 ways of looking at it. If you want to practice, you get countered, you get really good against the counters. I would say like it depends on the hero. there are certain heroes that can just play perfectly fine into counters. Something like a Centaur in the offlane. He's just a generic stunning offlaner that can cut the creep wave. He's never going to have a bad game. If he has a bad game, it's because the Centaur player is not a good Centaur player. So I think if you're playing a hero that's like that, then yes, you can first pick it, and either they use everything to counter you, or and then you win because they've used everything to counter you, or they don't use everything to counter you and you get to have a normal game, or they pick like one counter and you just play safely and have a normal game, and that's fine. But it would depend. Like if you're playing Huskar first pick every game, that's different. Like that hero is way too counterable. That's the problem. Is like it depends on how counterable your hero is. I would say if you're around like the 50% mark for counterable in terms of like average percentile in terms of people can kind of counterpick you but not really, then that's probably fine to like first pick it, or just wait a little bit because maybe your team is also picking heroes that they don't really give a shit. Like if your team is highlighting like Lich Snapfire, does it really help to give them second, third pick?
Right.
Not really, not really. So it just depends on what your team is picking as well.
Yeah, I would also just say that if you're learning a new hero, it's probably worth it just to first pick it 2 or 3 times just so you see what counters you really hard. Like if you're not sure, and just like tank a couple losses and then be like, okay, well now I know I don't want to draft this into these heroes ever, if possible.
Yeah.
And if I do, then I have to itemize completely differently than I would normally.
Yeah, that's why like the practice matters a lot because of you need to learn like the proper item. There's a way to deal with so many counters in Dota. There's almost always a way. You can find some like hero spammer that's like, yeah, it's not a counter, and you just need to figure out like why they think that because there's a reason for it.
Right.
Dara says thoughts on which ranked mode is the best, classic or ranked rules. For example, is it better to play carry 4 games then have to support once, for carry games support once, etc., or to try to battle it out for your role in ranked classic? I suspect classic is better for making sure you continue to learn about every aspect of Dota by having to play some variety of roles. Uh, I would say that ranked roles is better if
Mm-hmm.
you can actually queue into ranked roles, which basically any bracket other than like high immortal you can queue into ranked roles because it's literally banned if you're 7.5k plus. You can't even queue for ranked roles. So yeah, basically, like I think the reason I say this because I think it's more important to play with better players than it is to play a bunch of different roles with shitty players. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing carry and you're a carry player and you're gonna win a bunch and get higher MMR, I would rather see you in a higher bracket learning from better players than because in reality the all the micro stuff in Dota is a debate. It doesn't really matter as much as the macro. And if you're playing carry 4 games in a row, like if you're playing a bunch of different roles, then you are going to be focusing entirely on the micro just because you can only focus on the micro because you don't know what the fuck's going on these heroes. Like, okay, I have to play Nature's Prophet now. I have to play 5. Oh God, now I'm mid. Okay, what do mids do? You're thinking about all this stuff instead of
Yeah. There's too
w-
much. Like you end up getting caught up so much in like relearning Dota over and over again that you actually never progress. I think that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have and why they stagnate is because they play like 60 heroes a month. They play like 70 games, and that 60 of them are on different heroes, and they never actually get better at anything because they're just constantly relearning the game over and over and over.
Dude, imagine like going a month straight where you like ride a bike one day, then a unicycle, then the next day you ride like a tricycle, and you just like rotate 7 different like types of transportation every day for like 4 weeks versus just like 4 or 5 days in a row straight of learning how to bike. Like I
Yep.
feel like you're gonna like by the time you get back to the unicycle, it's like, hey, wait, what did I do? Okay, yeah, that's what how like are you ever working? This is like I mean, I'm sure this works in other fields. There's going to be some example, but the best example I can think of is like software engineering. Whenever you're like looking at code, whenever you're into it, you can just like code and just keep going and solve problems really quickly. But then if you take a break, even if somebody interrupts you, like with words, like somebody comes and talks to you, you have to spend like 5 seconds recalibrating. Like, where was I? What was I thinking about? And I think the longer you spend not doing something, the longer the recalibration is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem with spamming 60 heroes in a row is every fucking game, the first 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, maybe even the first game or two is going to be spent recalibrating.
Yeah.
So maybe your entire Dota life is just recalibrating your thoughts.
Yeah.
That sounds impossible to learn. That sounds literally impossible. The amount of times geez, I stay up until like 8 a.m. coding or something because I'm just like, Ellie will be like, "Are you coming to bed? Are you coming to bed? Like, what's going on?" And I'll be like, I can't. If I wake up tomorrow, it's gonna take me 5 fucking hours to get back into this. Like, I'm not gonna solve this problem is so deep and so complicated at this point that I'll have to basically redo it tomorrow if I stop this right now. I have to finish. And man, I feel that. Like I've woken up and just no fucking idea what I did the other night. No idea.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that spamming is just the way. Like, it's just the way. Like, um, I guess one other analogy is like if you're learning a song on guitar, you need to learn all of like the chords or like the notes slowly, and then you have to build up speed. And the more times that you play it correctly slowly, the easier it is to build up speed. So if you like perfectly learn how to hold the chords, what notes to play, and you do it slow, 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 like 100 times, and then if you want to go like 4 times the speed the next time, it becomes extremely easy to do because your muscle memory for like the movements is already there, and you just have to do it a little bit faster. It's kind of the same thing as a hero. Like your first 10 games on a hero are going to be like agonizing because you're going to have absolutely no idea what's going on. And then once you have kind of like figured out what a good item build is, then you already know like the roadmap of where you need to go to get there. And then once you have figured out like what items need to come in what order and like what your actual power spikes are, then the game becomes much more fast because you can be like, all right, I'm just going to do this until I have this power spike, and then I can instantly go do this. And then once you do that, then you know, okay, my next power spike is this, so I'm instantly just going to go for that. And like the decision-making tree becomes so narrowed because you don't have to see all of like the possible options that are wrong or less optimal. You only see the ones that are correct. And it just makes the whole process so much faster because there's like no deliberation. You already know the correct way to go.
Gives you more time to think about the other shit, basically.
Exactly.
Yep. I think we talk about that quite a lot, that idea, but definitely with like the classic or ranked roles example, I think that definitely makes ranked roles more valuable for the same reasons.
Yep. Up until like
Lunatic
high divine, and then you'll start supporting people like 2000 MMR below you, and it's not fun anymore. So,
Lunatic says, "How do I make sure to get more stacks when playing as a support? I usually just ignore stacking and check my clock when close to allied camps, which leads me to not doing it that much." I think not doing it that much is fine. Like it depends on your heroes. I mean, if you're playing to like get some individual hero like an alchemist or Sven or something like that really farmed, then stacking is really important if the game actually calls for it. With that being said, really when you should be stacking is when you're walking by camps and you have nothing better to do, or if you aren't needed doing anything else. And if you are actually needed doing something else, then you shouldn't be stacking. Straight up. I've seen people fucking throw games to go stack. And it's like,
mhm.
why are you leaving your lane? You should be supporting your hero. He needs you here. So yeah, I mean, if you're ever finding yourself staying in trees, soaking XP, being a fucking useless support, that's when you should be stacking.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, I think it's
No other
definitely kind of
times.
just like it's like a secondary thing that you can do. Pretty much what you described. You notice that the clock is about the right time, stack a camp. That's pretty much when you should be doing it.
Yep, I agree. One, as a carry, how do you decide between two Wraith Bands into Battle Fury versus one Wraith Band into a Battle Fury? I've normally seen a rating. Oh, this is a second question. How do you decide between two Wraith Bands into Battle Fury, one Wraith Band into Battle Fury? Wraith Band is like if you can get like a second Wraith Band and just keep winning the lane and keep killing people and like pressure while also farming, then that's when you would go for the second Wraith Band, or when you need to do that. But if you can just like go dip your ass into the jungle and nobody gives a fuck that you're gone, then maybe you don't even need one Wraith Band, like
Yeah.
maybe you just go straight Battle Fury, because like it just Wraith Bands are just like early efficient stats for dealing with the enemy heroes having also early efficient stats and ability to mess with you. So if they can't mess with you and do anything, then just go straight into like whatever's the most efficient farming, which I would assume is like Battle Fury or Glove of Haste into Battle Fury or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably Battle Fury into Glove of Haste. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's basically the bottom line is it's just like it just for a lot of pro players, it's like a feel thing. It's like they feel like they're gonna maybe need a little bit more stats before they can go leave to the jungle. So they get 2 Wraith Bands. Or they feel like they can pressure really hard if they get a second Wraith Band, just because they have a ton of damage.
Yeah, I would almost go as far as to say if you feel like you need to go 2 Wraith Bands, you probably shouldn't be going Battle Fury that game because you're being pressured too much. I don't know. That's just kind of my thought. I think
Maybe. I mean, I understand the logic. Like I understand the logic, but I don't know. I don't feel like 2 Wraith Bands Battle Fury is that bad.
yeah.
But
I'm not saying it's bad, but I just kind of think that like you should really evaluate whether if you're going 2 Wraith Bands because you're like being pressured in lane or you have to fight early, it's really worth it to go to the Battle Fury. I don't know.
yeah, I think I agree with the logic. Like I said, the second question that Wink has is I've normally seen Radiance on Wraith King. Is there a reason for not going Battle Fury, even though he has crit like Jug and PA? When do you recommend going Battle Fury over Radiance and the other way around? The reason people go Radiance on Wraith King is because Radiance is like an anti-kite item.
Yes.
That hero runs around fights, gets like 2 hits off, and that's it. And then he feeds. So the reason like PA and Jug and these heroes get Battle Fury is because they have ways like Jug can just press Omni Slash and he's going to kill somebody from full HP. PA can jump on people over and over and over again. Wraithian can't do that. He's got like a
He's
1
like,
second stun.
I'm coming, boys. Oh,
It is the
I'm
it is the
stunned.
long dude. It is the longest stun. It's like got you. And then the stun's over and you hit somebody once and then they run away from you.
Yeah.
Radiance is like, I'm going to run at you and hit your towers. And if you engage in a fight with me, you don't want to kill me because I have this ultimate that respawns me. So I'm going to slowly DPS you. It's also nice to, well, then again, I guess the farming, getting the skeletons would come from Battle Fury as well. I mean, imagine Battle Fury Wraith King's not that bad, but it's going to do absolutely fuck all for you in fights,
Yeah.
which is definitely a problem. And the build that people are doing on Wraith King now is Battle Fury Manta Silver Edge. So the Manta is even more useless if you have a Battle Fury. So that's basically, yeah. When do you recommend going for Battle Fury over Radiance?
Yeah.
Battle Fury Radiance is for heroes that just get kited in fights. That's basically it. Like it's like the anti kite item. I'm gonna take these slow fights over time. I'm tanky. Jug PA, not tanky. Don't want to take slow fights. They want to kill somebody in 0.5 seconds. Very, very different. It's like almost like exclusively a farming item on those heroes, and they're just so stoked that it got a damage buff because for a while it's just been a farming item. You don't even give a shit about the cleave in fights, honestly. That's like a tertiary kind of like, oh, cool. I guess I cleave that guy for a little bit of damage.
Right.
But really, it's just like so you get the next items ultra fast.
Yep.
Wraith King's a disgusting hero. That is the most filthy carry right now in Dota. It's so fucking easy.
I think it's
everything.
I think it's overrated, personally.
I disagree.
I
Have
think
you
it's
played late game Wraith King? It outcarries Spectre, dude. It's nuts.
I mean, I think it's overrated because I think everybody just thinks it's like the best hero in the game. I think it's good, but I think there are counters and people are just kind of forgetting that there are counters to the I honestly think it's just like a much worse alchemist than it used like the old alchemist. It's alchemist but slower because he doesn't farm as fast because he doesn't have Grievel's Greed.
Except Wraith King actually outcarries an alchemist for some fucking weird reason. I'm telling you, dude.
I still think you just need to build like Silver Edge. I'm okay. So the reason I'm saying this is because before this, I was literally just watching replay after replay after replay of Wraith King losing and trying to figure out like what the easy counters are because everybody's picking Wraith King. And what I'm seeing is people that come online fast. So like cheese heroes, meepos, that kind of stuff. Heroes that bully him in lane because he doesn't do anything, and heroes that just like abuse the fact that he does nothing for 30 minutes and just destroy his team, like just kill everybody else. He's like probably the most 4v5 hero in the entire game right now. He's like almost worse than anti-mage.
That's the problem with like the skeletons though, because if you're good at using the skeletons, you can cause so much. Like I've seen so many times good Wraith Kings in my games will like take a tier 1 or tier 2 with just skeletons and also be at the fight showing up to it. You know what I mean?
I'm talking about pub players though. Like pub Wraith Kings are trash. No offense to anybody who plays it in chat right now, but most
Well, yeah, definitely offense to those people. Just saying, like fucking jungling AFK, jungling only on my side of the map. Like that's not how to play a good Wraith King, in my
yeah,
opinion. That's not how to play a good carry in general.
yeah,
Unless you're like exclusively Alchemist, and even like if you watch Miracle play Alchemist, he will farm on the enemy side of the map if he can. Like these carries will look to pressure farm as well. Like it's
yeah,
I understand what you're saying. I feel like if like Invoker and some of these other heroes that could dumpster the Wraith King early, like were better. It's sometimes the meta just like works out for a hero is the thing. And there are a lot of like good out of meta ways of dealing with it.
yeah.
But it really feels like there's not all that much and the meta needs to shift. Poopy Pants Boy says, shitty trousers kid here. Unfortunately, I wasn't present for the Patreon member only stream, but I did watch it later.
Nice.
That's hilarious. In the game where Jerkins, the lotion man, was off lane Storm and Donnie Darko was support Monkey, for a period of time, the enemy team was just running around as 5. My question is how to counteract this type of gameplay. Well, let me tell you, my teammates were fucking idiots, including Donnie and Newsham in that game. They're both being morons. They're fighting them, expecting them not to be 5, which is really dumb. My question is how to counteract this type of gameplay when the enemy team plays from this moment. The laning stage is over until the game ends. When I solo queue, my teammates, sometimes myself included, have enough extra chromosomes to make an addition team member. So it's a bit like herding cats. Is the solution to 5-man them as well? No. And hope that you win a fight or pressure their objectives. Just split push them, man.
Yep.
These fucking idiots have no idea how to deal with split push. These morons that just group up in 5-man are doing it because they can't think of anything else.
Yep.
I am telling you, people crumble. I have been playing so many Smurf games lately, so many Smurf games, and the heroes I'm winning with are not Centaur and like
Mars.
regular offlaners like Mars. Well, maybe Mars would be okay if you played it in a certain way, but it's like Ember Spirit. I'm owning with Ember Spirit because I can be everywhere. If a fight is bad, I'm out of here. I go split push. Enemy team, they split up. Like the amount of games that I've won, it's nuts. I swear to God, I'm on my Smurf account right now. I can click to it. There's a game where I was playing Queen of Pain, and I had an Invoker support and a Spirit Breaker support, and they literally both just came to my lane and started taking my CS. So I TP bot and I went position 5. I went position 5 Queen of Pain for a while. And let me tell you, in this game, Spirit Breaker 2-19, Invoker 3-23. We won.
Yeah.
We won this game. You know how we did it? Let me tell you the graph. They had a 10k gold lead at about 15 minutes. We just split push. We said, fuck this. Well, I'm going to sit in this lane. Ellie was sitting in the bottom lane. Enemy team ran down mid. Somebody would cut the mid wave. Maybe I would cut the mid wave because I'm in the top lane. I can just dip over and cut the mid wave. It takes me 10 seconds. I don't give a fuck. I'm Queen of Pain. They're going to go on me. Sure, I don't care. I've got Greaves. I've got Blink. Good luck catching me, you know? And then I go back to the top lane, wait in trees. They run at me. They think they can kill me. And then they think that I'm gone. They split up. Boom. I fucking kill the person that thinks that I'm gone. And we did that over and over and over again for about 10, 15 minutes. All of a sudden, we had a huge gold lead. I had 2 teammates that had 42 deaths between them that were stealing my CS in lane. Position 5 Invoker that came to my lane and started stealing CS. Spirit Breaker that was literally charging in and feeding off cooldown. And we won. And you know why? Because nobody in fucking Dota knows how to deal with split pushing. Straight up. Split pushing is the answer. It is almost always the answer. When you are super far behind and the enemy team is just 5-manning, you never, even in a winning game, want to fight the team when they're enemy team when they're 5.
Yep.
Why would you do that? How could that ever? There are so many ways in Dota. It's like playing chess and not using your queen. Why would you do that to yourself? That would be fucking hard. Go play checkers if that's too hard. You know? Go play checkers. It's way easier. Actually, checkers can be quite complicated. I don't want to shit on checkers players. But you know what I'm saying, you know?
Also, I think it's really important.
Ability.
It's really, really important to define split pushing, because what I see when people are behind is everybody just defaults to hitting jungle creeps. They're like, well, we can't fight them, and I don't want to be, I don't want to be vulnerable, so I'm just gonna go hit jungle creeps. No, you shove the wave. and then you run or blink or teleport, whatever, to the next wave that's also spawning, even if it's like halfway across or halfway farther down the lane towards the enemy base, and you kill that one instantly. Suddenly 2 creep waves. That's like a full minute that the next creeps have to walk to even be able to pressure your tower.
You know, one of the most frustrating I don't ideas, storylines, like things that that people will always argue in like the lower rated games is my teammates, my teammates, my teammates, my teammates. What do I do when my teammates aren't doing anything? What do I do when they're jungling? There are 3 lanes. One of them you can't go to. The mid lane, that basically doesn't even count as a lane because it's a fucking death sentence to go there. You can push one wave, then it's in front of the enemy base. So that doesn't count. There are 2 side lanes. One of them is going to be controlled by the enemy team. That means there is a single lane that needs to be split pushed. One lane, and you are one person. All it takes is you. And in so many of these games, literally fucking nobody does it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that nobody does it. You can have the greatest control of all of your games because there's only one lane you can go to and you're one person. I don't want to hear that bullshit about my 4 teammates are fucking idiots. Let them jungle. Who cares? More lane farm for you in that one lane.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the thing. It would be so different if there were 5 lanes in Dota and there were like 3 or 2 lanes that needed to be pushed. But there are 3 lanes. One's the mid lane and it's baby dick length, so it doesn't even count. The other one is where the enemy team's going to be. So that means there's one place that somebody needs to go, and then everybody hits the fucking jungle. That's the problem.
Yep. Yeah.
Uga Chaka says, as a carry, how do I deal with uncooperative supports in the lane? Support yourself.
Yep.
The type that never pull, even if I ask them to, never give me solo levels, is a solution to make an earlier rotation to another lane. Yeah, dude, give them the lane. Say, okay, you want this lane so badly? Fucking have it. Go jungle, go rotate, go play the game. Break the laning stage down. Don't play the lane. For a while, you can like do your own pulling. Let them soak, because even if there's an idiot sitting there soaking, you can kind of go hide behind them, and then the enemies will go on them, and that's pretty cool. Like you can use your. Once again, I'm sorry for getting so like into it today, but I'm so bored of this idea that, and this is not you, Uga Chaka. This is nobody. There's no patron, obviously. This is from me playing in this bracket that I'm experiencing this and experiencing people bitching about this to me, who's like, they don't know I'm gonna smurf, so it's not fair. I'm not gonna say that or some shit because that makes me a huge dick. But it's like, oh my god, if only I could say this. If only you knew that like I'm doing the best I can, man. This got me to 7.5k MMR. So you're so fucking wrong about your teammates being useless. Like, this is what I do that got me to the high rating. So you're just wrong. You just have to be by definition. Yep. Anyway, so all I'm saying is that you can use idiots. It doesn't matter that your teammates are idiots. You just need to be smart. You need to figure out how to use your fucking idiots to your advantage. I was coaching Noodle the other day, and I actually said to him something that you said, Donnie, and he was like, "Wow, that's big brain." And I said, like, Donnie, I don't know if you said it in a video or you said it on a podcast, but this idea that even if you're like a Bane or a support that should run in and die all the time, if there's a bad fight and your team shouldn't be in an area anyway, and you run in and die with them, you are basically tailoring them to keep being fucking idiots for the rest of the game, and that's not good. Like, you actually have to kind of manipulate. You're
giving them positive reinforcement by being there, basically. Yeah,
exactly, and that's like, that's not good. You can use your team, you can control your team, even if they're idiots. It just requires you to kind of theory craft it. You have to think. You have to think of your team as being part of the game, as being like part of the puzzle that you have to solve. Okay,
exactly.
I have a useless ogre sitting in the trees. I have a useless pudge sitting in the trees. Get the enemy team to go on you. Run to that hero. They're so fucking slow and useless. They're trying to run away because they don't want to die. But guess what? Everybody wants to go on an ogre. Everybody wants to go on a pudge. We hate those heroes. So people will go on them and kill them. And then all of a sudden, you've made them useful. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So you just got to do stuff like that. That's basically all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I keep saying that a hero like Spearbreaker is such a good pub hero, just because it's one of the only heroes that unifies everybody. Kill this guy, right? You can direct. You don't have to like communicate. You don't have to use your mic. You don't have to type. you just say, this is the target, and everybody's like, oh, Spirit Breaker's charging somebody? I want to kill that person too. And so, like, regardless of whether it's actually a good hero or not, it's really good at coordinating people to select the right targets. So as long as you're not an idiot, like, you can direct your teammates to do the right thing by forcing them to do so.
Kill guy with arrow over his head. Ooh,
Exactly.
arrow. That means kill that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Party says, I'm using my time earning money with Dota 2 bets right now. Ooh, that's slippery slope. I'm finding myself watching and analyzing pro teams and games over 12 hours a day. That's pretty cool. When I was watching Arteezy's Ursa versus Crazy, it looked like he was straight up feeding, but after most of his deaths, EG either came back with a little net worth or grew their lead. Once he was diving the enemy tier 1 super aggressive, everyone saw that he was trading his life for support for so many TPs, which made the enemy troll run across the entire map to get back to farming. Do you think this is this and kills only giving significant gold when feeding kill sprees makes tactical feeds even for the carry pre 20 minutes worth a lot more than we usually think? And do you think the comeback gold should be a thing again? Watching teams that are 20k ahead getting wiped 2 times in a row, only losing 3k net worth lead feels super wrong. In addition, they can kill the team that is behind once they get the killing sprees, makes them even richer than they were before. That's true, man. I was losing remember the game we played on stream, and I was Visage, and they were, let me even go to that because I'm going to check to see what the net worth difference was. They were crushing us. We were getting demolished, totally eviscerated. Let's see. I think every lane was losing. We had a guy that was like basically grieving. So they had like a 15k gold lead, and I was 5-0 just because I wasn't showing up to fights. And somebody on the enemy team killed me with a 15k gold lead and got 1,000 gold.
Yeah.
They're like
dumb.
level 23 owning Lena, killed me for 1,000 gold just because I didn't die. I wasn't even owning. We were losing. I just didn't die because I was split pushing. Oh god, it felt bad. So yeah, that does feel pretty wrong, but it's interesting. The fundamentals of Dota have definitely changed because of these gold calculations. So I'm very interested to hear that you have noticed this in actual programs, because I haven't watched them. I should probably start watching the tournaments, that the LA Major, just like see what's going on. But yeah, that's really interesting, and it sounds like depending on the gold calculation, that could definitely be worth it.
Like,
But
basically, what he's saying is essentially like feed them a streak so you can kill them later for it.
not necessarily feed them a streak, but like just dying to make space now is a lot more viable, even for a carry, because your net worth is not calculated into the death.
Yeah, I also want to say I'm looking at this lineup by EG against Crazy, and it's just awful. Like, there's probably a reason Arteezy was feeding, because the rest of his teammates couldn't really do anything. They had a Sand King who had a terrible lane, and a Maronna support. So Sand King Maronna as a lane, which is kind of meh. And then they had an Oracle as their other support, and then they had a Dragon Knight as their mid. So it's like, until these heroes get to like 15-20 minutes into the game, they kind of have no impact.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Jenkins, this is from SDFS25. He says, what are the 3 top offlaners in the world today? What's the difference between you and them? Is it worth buying the Gamers Class video of Ice Ice Ice? No, unless they sponsor us. They keep sending us fucking emails, though. Like,
They were trying to sponsor us, but
they were trying to sponsor us, and then we made an account to log into their site to like see what it was like. And now they're just spamming us with emails. And honestly, I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the emails they're sending. They're kind of mean. Like they sent one about Crit. He did a guide on there, and they're like, Crit might be the best player to never win a TI. And it's like, whoa, what the hell? He made a guide for you. Why are you saying that? Like, come on. That's just weird, man. But I don't know. I would say Gamers Class video of Ice Ice Ice, probably not. There's so much good free content out there that I would just say, I mean, it's easy for me to say this, but I would say, you should just support the person that you like that's making content, whether it's like a streamer, because you can just go watch Ice 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 stream,
Yeah.
You can go watch Gunner stream, or Monkeys Forever, or, any of these players, BSJ, and they're going to tell you what they're doing and why. And for God's sakes, all of OG's streaming. OG is releasing all these videos on YouTube. They just did a breakdown of TI8 where No Tail looked at it. That is so much more valuable than anything that's going to be produced by some producers that don't know anything about the. Because Ice 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 didn't produce those videos, and this is nothing against gamers class. It's just that there's a lot of good content in Dota right now. Like
Yep.
so many people are streaming, so many people are making YouTube videos. OG starting to come and do YouTube is one of the best things to happen to the Dota scene. Like I'm so glad that they're doing that. It is some of my favorite. I'm actually watching Dota content. I don't watch Dota content. I
Dude, I
never
mean, they're
did.
being rewarded. Like it shows. People want this stuff, but they're just giving it away. Like, why pay for it? You know? I mean, all of these
Good for their brand. Like they're really good for their brand.
masterclass, masterclass.com, like,
Yep, that's like the non-gamer version, right?
right, gamers class is literally just copying masterclass. Like, they took like the same color scheme, the same branding, all of that stuff. Masterclass.com is basically just like a website where they've essentially paid like the toppest, uppest, mostest tier of somebody in each field. So like Steven Spielberg teaches how to direct a film. Is he actually really teaching how to direct a film, or is it basically just like a 2-hour rambling of his thoughts on like what he does? It's not really a class, right? It's not really teaching you how to direct like Steven Spielberg. It's just him cashing in on like $100,000 check for
See,
2 hours of his time.
that's the problem. That's the problem is that Ice 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 didn't produce the guide. He was getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And the people that are producing the guide, unfortunately, don't know the difference. Maybe I'm wrong, but from my experience, usually with these sites, they're a producer. They don't know the difference between what's actually good advice and what's just normal advice. Like a lot of people that don't play Dota would think that last hitting is a very complicated thing and that nobody knows. Oh, you have to kill the creeps to get the gold. People don't know that. Everybody fucking knows that. There are things that like we as Dota players know that just even general gamers like wouldn't know. You'd have to play the game. And a lot of these like producers, these video makers, they don't play the game. They have a job. They're a video maker. So there's like this disconnect between the guy who's the face of the content. And that's the thing. Ice 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 is just the face of the content. He is not the actual. Then again, maybe I'm painting a broad stroke. I haven't seen this, but from what I've seen with the other guides of these other pro players, when they're painted on it, they're just the face of it. But these people, like the Spielbergs and the Ice Ice Ice, they don't have the time. They don't care enough to make a full long guide about something
Yeah.
because they're busy winning. They're busy doing the thing that they're making the guide about and being very successful doing that. So
Right.
it's just this weird disconnect that exists where if you had
Only
man,
unsuccessful people like us can actually spend the
exactly,
time to
exactly.
make
See,
videos.
that's why. Jokes aside, that's why No Tail analyzing his own TI game is the toppest of top tier content. Like it doesn't get better than that.
Right.
It's not possible. You could take a producer and cut that, and I think they have. I think they have. Actually, I don't know if it's like public who it is, but I think we both know who it is that does that, Donnie. And they're very good at doing that, the production and all the elements on the screen and stuff. So the OG guys are making really good content because of that.
Yeah.
Because they have a good producer and they're actually the ones that are handling everything. That's like the cool thing about these like player owned orgs is that everything is going to be done from the perspective of like somebody who's really good at the video game that everybody's watching. So,
Mhm.
it's just interesting. Okay. Crave says, okay, wait, sorry. We actually didn't even answer the question. SDFS25 said, uh, what is the difference between the top three offlaners and me? And who are the top three offlaners in the world today? I would say Zai has to go up there.
Yep.
I think Zai is just like top three players in the world, so you can't not put him up there.
Yang.
I think the fact that you can give Zai any hero and he'll destroy with it is ridiculous. I think that's really ridiculous. And this has always been the thing about Secret is that they never seem to have like one way of playing. Zai can play farming heroes. He can play healing heroes. He doesn't have he's not restricted to like a specific archetype, which is really cool. Ice 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 is probably the best in your face balls to the wall offlaner in the world. Like he embodies offlane,
Hmm.
generally speaking.
Sure.
And I think Universe is the safest offlaner. If you want somebody who's never gonna feed, Universe is
Bruh.
that guy.
You need to
But
watch some other regions.
what regions? That was SEA.
Dude, Yang and Faith Beyond are beyond
Okay,
good.
I was gonna say Faith Beyond. I don't agree with Yang actually. I think Faith Beyond's insane.
Faith
I think
Beyond is
Faith
amazing.
I think Faith Beyond might be the best offlaner. It depends. I haven't seen him play in a while, but when I was watching him play like a few months ago, I was convinced he was the best offlaner.
Yeah.
He would single-handedly carry his team.
He
He
is
was like
so good.
He was like Boxy on were they Alliance back then? Yeah, they were Alliance back then. He was like Boxy on Alliance except for tier 1.
Yeah.
Where like a team's getting carried by their offlaner and it's like somehow uh except tier 1.
Yeah.
Now obviously I'm not saying Alliance isn't tier 1 now. Obviously they are. But back then they weren't really. And but I don't think Boxy like carries anywhere near as much as he used to. Like
Yeah,
the rest
definitely not. I would also
like
say that you could maybe throw up Jesus, I'm like forgetting everything that I start. Oh, I was gonna say mid one, just because I would say that mid one is top 3 player in the entire world, or like he was before he took a break, and he looked really good when he came back. I don't know if he's necessarily a top 3 offlaner, but as a player, I think he's like unbelievably good.
I see OG getting mentioned in chat. That is such a weird team because I think that TI9 OG is literally the best Dota team to ever have graced the planet to this day. I don't think any current Dota team, including current OG, is as good as OG at TI9. And maybe that'll happen again at TI10 if it happens, where you'll have a team that's better than that. But holy fuck, they worked people more than I've ever seen in any Dota tournament ever. And this was TI. It was insane. But I still wouldn't say Seb is the best offlaner on the planet. I still wouldn't say that Thompson is the best mid on the planet. I would say Anna's the best carry on the planet, though.
Yeah.
But Thompson is the most unique mid on the planet. Seb is the best coach, the best Dota coach on the planet. Like, just because he's not individually the best offlaner doesn't mean, you know, if I could choose between having Seb on my team and Ice, I think Ice is amazing. I choose Seb 100% of the time.
Yep.
That fucking guy might be top 3 most valuable players on the planet. We've all seen True Sight. The amount that he brings to that team is just wild. He is the heart of that. Well, I guess they say he's the heart and No Tail's like he's the brain and
No
Tail's the
yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like that's what do they call it? It's like invaluable, you know? It's like you can't substantiate that.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with individual skills. Individual skills fine, obviously. He's decent, he's good, he's really high rated, he's, you know, 9-10K player, whatever. But you know, he's not as good as like Faith Beyond, but I would really rather Seb on my team more than 99.9% of pros.
Yep.
There aren't that many pros. That would like half pros, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Godson too. I mean, Godson is like Godson is, you know, he needs the right team around him, and then he's the best. That's the thing with OG is that OG are players that like it's hard to quantify skill in Dota because it's like,
dude,
of
I mean,
course, Thompson with OG is the best mid in the world because he's necessary for his team to thrive.
yeah, but
you know?
but if he was on a team that wasn't as down to be as balls to the wall as he is, he would just feed every fucking game. Like,
yeah, he'd for sure get kicked. He'd for sure. I mean, people didn't take him seriously at all, and now he's the trendsetter. People look to him for like, oh God, what's he doing next? Oh Jesus Christ,
the thing is though, if you look at his pubs, he'll have like a week of he'll be like 26-0 and like 14 in every single game, and then the next week he'll literally be like 0-32, like legitimately.
Oh, dude,
like he is the most up and down player I've ever seen. Looking on Dota 2 Pro Tracker,
when they were in NA, I played with them a few times, and Jesus Christ, games against Thompson either felt impossible or just the easiest thing.
Yeah.
He would just be feeding relentlessly. I remember Mason like dodged Thompson. He was calling him saying how shit he is, and he doesn't understand how this guy wins games and shit. It's like people were flaming Thompson in NA pubs, and it's like this guy, he has won 2 TIs, but still, just because of his absurd play style, there's so much miss for the hit.
Yep.
Obviously, you know, he's practicing and testing a lot of stuff, so that's important to note. But
yep.
You're right. You're right. He feeds. He's hilarious. He's a character. Crave says, I've had a lot of problems with the new pick order. You and me both. That makes two of us.
Mm-hmm.
It happened quite often that I pick hard carry because that's mostly what I play, and my mid laner just happens to get bad matchup. We kind of get stomped in 20 to 30 minutes. Yep. It feels like this just takes away from the strategy aspect of drafting in pubs and replaces it with lucky/unlucky matchups. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair, but it kind of dumbs down the game a bit. I think the new draft order is fucking stupid and they need to change it. I think they should revert it back or change it to something better. But with that being said, I do have some recommendations when it comes to drafting. I think you should pick stuff that can swap, that can go mid and off lane and mid and carry and support and off lane and et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a good way to draft. I
Yep.
think you can bait pick. I think you can pick heroes that will do fine no matter what the draft is. Heroes that okay, they might last pick a Brood, they might last pick a Meepo. So I'm going to pick some offlaner that can swap to go mid, like a Tiny against those heroes, whatever. That's like the way you have to draft. You have to draft to swap. You have to draft to to deal with the randomness. Basically, you have to cover all your bases. That's how you have to play. That's how you have to draft. That's how you have to play now. You have to cover all your bases because otherwise they're going to pick something and that base isn't going to be covered and you just fucking lose. Like you said, 20, 30 minutes. I don't even know what to say about those games. You just need the right items. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can't even farm them.
Yeah, games are so stompy right now. I feel like because of the draft order, I really, really don't like it, to be honest, because you just like you can't if you're a support or if you're an off lane, like you're not allowed to wait, really. Like you can't. It's so cut and dry. Hard support, regular support, off lane, carry, mid. Every game. That's all it is. Before you could be like, oh, I'm gonna first pick like mid Lena, but it could also be a 4 and it's going to be fine, right? And now it just really does not feel like there's any flexibility in terms of who picks first. And sometimes you get lucky and people will pick and you're allowed to actually think about who you want to counter the other team because they have to show you. But yeah, I am really not a big fan at all of the new drafting order at all.
You just don't have to think about it. It's your chances of winning the game with thinking. Either you need to really overthink it, or you just need to not think about it at all and just play. Because like you said, sometimes somebody will pick first. You just randomly like, oh great, my mid pick first, so now I get to counter pick in the off lane or something like that.
Right.
Like that can't happen if the enemy team is stupid enough to not pick their mid first as well. That definitely can't happen. But it's just straight up luck. It's just
Yeah.
luck.
I would
Either
almost
way,
say it's
it's
like
luck.
important to just have like the Dota Plus because at least then you can see what people might be picking. like,
Yeah, I
you know,
agree. I totally agree. Dota Plus has been a lifesaver. It's like, oh, they got a Meepo Brood picker on the enemy team. I'm banning Brood. I'm gonna pick a counter to Meepo.
yep.
GG, just like that. Hockey Leaner says, oh, one sec, actually. Okay, so yeah, Hockey Leaner says when you replied to Lou, uh, said part of the reason it is bad because it fails. They just dominate and push two lanes. What has made it not viable? Whereas, wait, what is it? When you replied to Lou,
Mhm.
lunatic at LEU. For God's sakes, Hockey Laner, what the hell? You're not linked. That doesn't link to anybody. He's April Foolsing me. What has made it not viable? Is it because small change to creep gold? I think he means stacking.
Who
All right,
knows?
Hockey. I'm
Just
gonna need some clarification on this one.
just move on.
After dropping 1K MMR due to a good amount of reasons, says, oh, Lowy Val. Oh, okay. Is Maronna and Bane viable lane combo? Oh, the Maronna and Bane combo. What has made it bad? They just dominate and push two lanes. What has made it not viable? Is that the question? The Lowy Val question about Maronna and Bane? We'll just read the next one while I get clarification. He's writing something. So after dropping 1K MMR due to a good amount of reasons, says Jestraga, from Ancient 1 to Archon 4. Wow, GG, that's fucked. I started climbing again, Legend 2 at the moment, because basically my enemies are so bad currently. I'm currently playing position 4. I used to play position 5, and I find that my main problem is to be underfarmed. When is a good time to farm as a 4? I tend to buy even more wards than my 5s because they're usually terrible. Well, that's fine because as long as you're not spending. The thing as a 4 is like I think you should just be doing 4 stuff, and if you're somewhere, you can just put wards like as you're doing stuff. But I wouldn't say go out of your way to ward stuff. That's one of the worst. Even as a 5, I think that's a bad thing. Is like going out of your way to go wards somewhere really far off. Like I think you have to be realistic about where your wards, and a lot of people spend a lot of waste a lot of time trying to like do warding shit when it's really just not that good, and then you end up really under farmed because everybody should get farmed. So when's a good time to farm? Whenever there's like a free lane, I would say that's whenever there's like a free lane somewhere and you don't want to fight. Usually it's like the four's job to go take that lane. That's the way that you get farm. You farm as a four when you're doing something that's very good on the map in terms of responding to the enemy team's pressure. Like the enemy team is just fucking you in all lanes. You know, it's like you can't fight anyway. Okay, I'm just gonna go as a phoenix, sit in trees, and fire spirits the bot lane. Oh, now they're chasing me. Oh, crazy stuff happening. Great, your cores are now farming. Good, you've done a good job, but you're also farming.
Right.
That's when you want to farm as a four.
Yep. Exactly.
Hockey
Hockey's
Leaner
is updated
says
question.
this low eval, having two roamer type heroes in a lane. Oh, okay, I see. Having two, so a Bane Maronna support duo. I think the reason that made it bad is because that's a good question. People have gotten a lot better at laning. I think probably the patch that fell off was like the deny patch, where denying reduced the amount of XP that you got by like a shitload.
Right. You like had to have somebody in lane with you, otherwise two heroes versus one hero, you were gonna end up super underleveled.
Yeah, and now like you've the gold that got like since then it's been changed, but it's been replaced with other stuff. So it's still denies are still really valuable. I think people have gotten better. I think that's honestly it. People have gotten a lot better. You can't have two heroes leave lanes. Somebody will get totally destroyed.
Also,
People know how
mid
to.
is way harder to gank because it used to be like Bane would come up, Maronna would come down to the mid lane, they'd kill the mid laner, they'd go back to their lanes, or they'd wait until the mid laner TP'd back and kill him again. But now mid lane is like it's almost entirely like shove wave go jungle, shove wave go jungle. Like
Yeah.
so there's
I
like no
think
mid laner to gank anymore.
I think it's exactly what you said, Hockey Laner. People have gotten way better at punishing. Like that's it's always crazy to look back and see the shit that people got away with. Like I would encourage you guys, if you haven't done it, if you've been playing Dota for the past year and you're legend or you're ancient or whatever it is, you know, decent, slightly above average MMR, go like a TI1. It will look like below your fucking bracket. I guarantee you, you'll be like, what is this?
Yep.
Navi is fighting for no reason. They
Yep.
don't even have a creep wave. They're just diving towers. The Roche is up. Nobody's going for Roche. Like, there's so much bullshit that happens. Nobody's pulling ever for no good reason. Nobody's cutting, even though that was perfectly viable back then. Like, nothing good is happening in those games. It's just everybody's gotten so much better. Dota's gotten so much better as a whole. The
Yeah.
average like 3K player is way better than back then
If
as
you
well.
took like let's say the current Team Liquid lineup, like Insania, Boxy, those guys, and you put them up against Navi from TI1, they would probably 3-0 them like 25-4 every single game in kills.
Dude, you could just cut waves against a team back then. They wouldn't
Yeah.
know what the fuck was happening. They'd be
Yeah.
so confused.
Yeah.
They'd be like, What do I do? I'm gonna run two supports at this. Oh no, they're killing this Axe is killing me because he's level 3 and I'm level 1. Like
Yeah.
nobody would have any idea what to do. Okay, we answered Destraga. Hockey Leader has another question. Actually, we're ending up with two Hockey Leader questions. That's going to be the end of the stream today. With my archetype of supports, I am best at playing, which of course is save heroes. What would be the best heroes to draft around them? Okay, heroes to save basically. Some classical ones are like Death Prophet's really good, Glass Cannons, SF, Terror Blade. Not so much Anti Mage because he kind of like plays on his own, but PA. Gyro, if you have a really good gyro player, Medusa, if that wasn't a dog shit hero. You wouldn't want like a PL because PL like saves himself. Basically, any hero that lacks that and that just wants to not get kited and just wants to not have stuff cast on them is really good. So for the
Morphling
most part,
Huskar.
yeah, Huskar, DP, Terrorblade, TA if she's snowballing. Not so much Drow, she wants to sit in the back. She doesn't really like get in there and benefit that much from like being saved because she doesn't want to have to be saved in the first place.
Yep.
So heroes that want to get in the enemy team's face but can't because their glass cannons are the best. OD, that's another classic.
Yep.
Well, we listed a bunch of really good ones. You wouldn't want something like a life stealer saves himself. He's fine on his own. So any hero that's like lacking that ability to save themselves and is a glass cannon, usually like that's the them being so squishy and easy to kill is the reason that they're balanced. So you can make them imbalanced by buffing them.
Right.
That's kind of
Ricky,
the idea.
maybe.
Yeah. Not so much. I would say Ricky's a little bit like a little bit like Lifestealer now, where he can kind of
Sure.
get in and out and save himself. Like he doesn't want to really play like hitting people in their face. He's like jumping in and out and doing stuff like that. But Bricky's definitely better than like a PL or something like that. It's more that he's more like in the middle, or a Meepo or something. It doesn't make any sense with those heroes.
Yep.
Anyway, we're out of questions. It's GG.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. It's been an awesome stream. We are over 400 viewers.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Insane. You guys are amazing. I noticed that some people asked if we were going to stream afterwards. Jenkins, are you streaming anymore? Do you want to throw your Twitch handle in there just so people can follow you?
I mean, I'm twitch.tv/420Jenkins, but I haven't been streaming that much these days. I don't play enough to.
There's mine. I'll throw Jenkins in there as well so you guys can follow him. I might stream later tonight. I'm not sure. But at the very least, go ahead and give us some follows. And when we do stream, at least you'll have notifications for it. Thank you, as always, to our Patreon supporters as well. You guys are amazing. Keep it coming. We will probably be putting out at least some sort of content from the Patreon exclusive stream where we played Carry Techies, 5 Pudge, and owned with it. And the patrons controlled our heroes, basically. They picked what our lanes were, so that's why it was. And if you want to be part of that, patreon.com/Dota Alchemy, any tier of support gets access to that stream every month. So anyway, thank you as always for tuning in. Alchemy Answers 73 signing out. See you later.